What's up YouTube? I'm currently going to go through my V70 Volvo. Had an issue with the ABS light turning on, so I just want to do a quick check because I tried to use my Elm reader for the 327, I think it's called. Let's check it out. Here it is. So I tried using this to read the codes on it, but it didn't work. So I had to kind of go a bit old school on this thing. I don't know why. I recently redone the handbrake, new wires, and I put on some better brakes because the ones on this one were rusted off so bad that it was just a question of time before this would be very unsafe. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys how I did to figure out at least what I think the problem is. I don't know if it's the problem, but I have a big reason to think so. So here we have an ABS reader, the connection to it that goes to this wheel, and equal on the other side. You can almost see it over there, it's open. What I do, I lift this up. There's a couple tabs here, and you have one here. By pressing those in, you can actually lift up the main fuse box. You don't need to put any wires off or anything, just put it away at the side. And then just beneath here, let's put on the lights here so you guys can see. You can see here is the connector for this one. And you get just in there and you kind of press it on this side and you will able to slide it out. This can be kind of hard to get out, so if you have just a small what are they called now again, not a screw, but yeah, something to press on the tab out here, and it kind of comes out pretty much easy. So what you do now, you have two prongs here that you can check your ABS. Kind of try to get this so I can show you, but what you do, you take a multimeter. Mine's from Biltema. I live in Sweden, so this is the stuff you get. Your Harbor Freight stuff, I suppose, in America or some other country. So I put it at 20k and at ohms, so I know. And now it's a kind of important thing about this. You kind of have to figure out the direction because there's two separate cables here. And if you put it on the other way, the signal won't really tell you if it's live or not, so you kind of have to test them both out. So I will give it a shot and see if I can give you guys an example of how it looks when the reading is on and I know it's actually working. So I kind of got it together now, so I put the earth on the left side and the red wire on the right. Just let me see here if I can get it. So now I got a reading here. It's about a little bit about 1,000, and you can see it's kind of consistent at that. It's kind of tweaking a bit just because I'm just trembling a little bit with my hands, but you can see it's like 1084. If you got a bad one, this would be around 8, 6 something on the left side at the 10, and you would have a 600 in the unit, in the ABS unit, and that's why you can tell this is a bad one. Or if you get a consistency like this, no matter which prong you put your multimeters at, no matter where you put these guys on, two electric prongs there, no matter, you still don't get some reading, then you know it's actually bad, because this ohm meter will measure the consistency in the unit, and by sending a small signal through it, you know if it's bad or not. So if you don't get one, it could be that it's a broken cable, and if the number is just low, around 6 or 8,000, 6 or 800, sorry. But if you do that, then you know it's kind of bad, because it should be around 1,000, because when it's around 1,000, that's a functional reading code. You can check it out. I think it's most ABSs you will kind of try to figure out will be the same. So no matter if you go to a BMW or Audi or Golf, in older cars, I think it's the same on the new ones. If you don't get a reading about 1,000 and you're trying to do this manual on a bit of older new cars, don't quote me on this. I don't actually have the precise knowledge of it, since I only work on older cars. So I know it's about 1,000 is the normal thing. But what I found out is when I did this, instead of using the arrow code reader, because I know that thing doesn't work. I know it works on the other ones, and I try to use the rear ones. This is just a single connector, so there's two ABS readers on this one, but they're connected to one cable over there. And I tried to measure the consistency on these guys. You see the yellow over there? That's the cable. So I tried to measure on them, and I got no codes, no consistency at 1,000 or at all. It just showed me 1, and therefore I know either the cable is broke, so the loop isn't finished. And why you know it's not finished is because it doesn't measure the consistency, which it will do if it's correctly installed. So I got a new cable for this and new new ABS readers. So I'm gonna try to pick them out because they are in a kind of very hard spot. I don't know why they decided to go with a torque screw on the back. Well, let's see if I can let you guys show. So here we have the brake caliper. I took this off because I thought it was an ABS ring. Here you have an ABS ring on the rear, and if this goes bad, you will still have the ABS working. So if you measure all consistently at 1,000 and you're still getting the ABS error code, this could be the culprit, this could be the bad thing. But I've tried to turn it around, and often you can hear this brake because it will make some noise, or you can find out. You will most likely find out because there's a brake disc here now that will be enclosed the whole thing. So when this goes bad, you can kind of hear it scramble around when you turn the wheel and stuff. That's how I found it beforehand. I changed these out before, so they are not really hard. Here you can see the ABS sensor, that's the name. The ABS sensor. So if we look at the rear here, you can kind of see it. Here's the connector in a plastic folding here, and here's the screw that keeps it tight against here, and there's a hole here that goes through inside. So this screw is kind of very easy to damage, so you need to be kind of careful. It's a Torx 25 if I remember. So I've decided I'm going to pull out the springs, and by doing that I will remove the shocks there's a bolt down here, so you just remove those. I believe this is called a delta rear end because there's the two ends are connected by each other at the sides there. And so by trying to remove the shocks, then I'm able to remove the springs, and that will give me a lot of space, which I will need, because I kind of want to be careful, because if I don't get it out but using the Torx, either you need to weld something stuck there, or you can try to cut this piece off just by the head, usually a hammer and a nice flat screwdriver. You can kind of break it off, and then when you get the ABS, you will have the screw still here, and you can try to get it out with a couple of pliers. But I think that's a worse route to go about it. Best thing is to get it out with the Torx and weld something on it, because then you will still have the heat generated from the weld as well, will make it sure that it gets loose. Also hit it with a hammer before you actually put the Torx on, because sometimes just a hit with a hammer will actually vibrate it kind of loose inside there. But I'm gonna try to get off the springs, because for me it's just a bit easier, because I know the screws can go bad. And if you're lucky, you can get the Torx there, but there's a little space between here and here, so you don't get a real Torx head bit, and you kind of need something a bit more, bigger with kind of leverage, because it's so rusted there. So I will try to get off the springs and shocks right now. So I brought you guys down here so I can show you how I remove the shocks. So on the V70 there's a nut that goes right at here. So you remove those, and then you have the springs here, and they got a nut under here as well. And this is the actual lock for the shocks, I mean the spring, so they don't get loose and can vibrate off of some reason. You just remove the nuts on each end. There's the other shock, so you remove it the one over there, and now they should be loose. So if you don't have, take a breaker bar or something, and as you can see it's very loose now, so I can actually pull this out. So in order to lower it safely, I put my car jack under here just so I can slowly lift it down, and the springs will loosen up real good, and then I can just remove the nut here, and then remove the actual spring, and then I should be free to go over there. Also, I put my stance just right under plate over here, and that's a good place to jack it up, and also place your stance. I got on each side, so remember about safety, because when you're handling cars, you can easily, if you don't have them stable enough, you can actually get the whole car over you. So try not to do that if you're going to attempt this. Also, when removing the shocks, these are the spring holders. They make sure the spring can't budge or move around in this bowl, if you call it. And you have the nut here. I used an electric drill with just a brush on it to remove any excess rust. And this tab is kind of important, because this is what makes this one lean here, because this bolt or thread, you call it, is together with this spring safety, if you call it, or a brake or whatever, and there's a little hole for this little metal tab to get stuck here, so it doesn't move around when you try to close it. If it's real rusted, it can be kind of hard, because this tab will most likely break. But you shouldn't be too worried. I put it back together with just the nuts. You kind of have to hold this a little bit as you get the thread started, and once it gets kind of tight enough on the spring, it will lock itself, and the tab is just there to make it easier on the start. So don't be worried about it. Just put the nut back there and tighten it so it gets real stiff. So you shouldn't have any problems anyhow after that. So what happened, the tab did break, so it started to go loose. So when I was turning this around, this disc here, spring brake here, would actually just go round, so I didn't get it. So by having something to pry on the spring, I put pressure on this so it goes up, therefore forcing the nut to go flush into the wall under the bowl. So that will be how I get this off. So it can happen when you least expect it. I don't think actually the tab broke. I think it just got up in the bowl now, so it's being up there. Can also happen. So don't panic. Just take something, put a bit leverage, or if you can get something to stick on it, maybe a vice grip or something, and squeeze between it. You can actually still get the nut loose. So don't worry. It's a fairly easy process. So. And now it's just to keep putting pressure and get it loose, and don't be worried, the spring won't fly or anything. When this gets loose, the spring will just get loose, so you don't have any tension on it, because it's actually very loose right now. So I just got it removed. This is kind of nice, because you don't need any clamps or anything to keep together the spring to get them out of here. Usually I can grab them and pull them out, but I think this is a bit longer spring than the original. I don't know why. So I kind of had to use something to pry on the back side. So what I did, I went like behind here and pushed it out like that. We can see I will kind of do it here just for demonstration. So I kind of pulled it around here, or at least I started it here and kind of pushed it because it's kind of off center in the middle there. It kind of pop out there. Just take something to pry, crowbar or something, and you will eventually get them out. It's very easy to put it back in as well, because you put them up in there. There's a kind of a tap in here that goes a bit down like here, and also if you're removing these, there's a lot of water because it's kind of hollow on the inside. This rubber thing. So remember, so you don't get wet, just try to pull it from you. You should pull the spring out there when I get it loose, because it's naturally going to bend forward to me, so you don't get a nasty surprise. I will try to bend this out now, and then I will start to remove the sensor screw. So I got really lucky. I was using the drill with the metal wire brush, and I used a hammer. I tapped it before, and then I used the drill, tried to clean out as well as I could to get it all out. Now I'm using a bit longer bar here, which is nice, because then I put I try to push as hard as I can on this part, and I just lean easily down here with my other hand. This is why I like to remove the springs and the shocks, and as well as you get this part, because I'm more a fan of using a weld if I would need to get loose, but I was so lucky to get this one loose. Now I hope I will get it on the other side as well, but it removed quite easily. So I think I put the what you call it, oil on there before to remove rust and stuff. So I've been at this a day before I did this, while I was taking apart the car. So and I've been doing other stuff. So I actually just let this ride for maybe a week after I put the oil. You may not have the time, but try to plan the stuff ahead. It will help you. For example, don't rush and try to get the screw loose. Get the Torx and just try to twist there, and you damage the screw and the threads on the Torx, and you will have to do all these steps no matter what in the end, because you will have to remove the shocks, you have to remove the spring, because you won't be able to fit something there otherwise. You may get a piece of metal that may be welded under. That's probably what you can do, but it's so much nicer now that I actually done the prep work to remove these things, and now I know it's actually good. And actually, if I thought it would be real necessary, these shocks are not very good on the car, so I would actually change this out, but I won't do it this time because of time. I don't really have or really now is the time I should do it. So but now you got the screw loose, so that's the most important part. Now I will try to do the same on the other side with the same results, I hope. So I was able to get all the two screws from the sensors, so I'm quite pleased, to say the least. Usually those can be a bit of a bugger, but I think right planning, as I said before, take your time, try to clean out as much rust, put on some oil around there to loosen up the rust. When you do that, you can go ahead, try to remove the shocks, the springs, because it's not really that time. I think I spent just about maybe about 15-20 minutes now on just trying to remove the shocks and everything. But in total, maybe I have spent 45 minutes in total. But since I'm fortunate enough to have a garage ahead over the car and I'm able to close it in and all that, so I can take my time whenever I need to. So I've been doing this kind of on and off. Now I decided I will try to get as much as possible done. I want to put in the new sensors and put back the springs and everything, and and then I will see if I take it a test drive tomorrow. But we'll see. So fortunate, you could get it. So now they're out. This is the one I'm going to remove now. So I thought I would show you guys how would you remove it. So the best I found a flat screwdriver, and you try to let's see here. Kind of hard when you can't really see it. And you put it up around here. Now, if you're going to remove these, even if you, in whatever reason you do it, you will always have to replace them. I would never reuse them, to be honest. If you want to be really careful and remove them, you can use as I say, a flat screwdriver here, and sometimes you will need to kind of push it from this side, and I'm going to use the flat screwdriver. If you're going to take a piece of wood or something that's a bit softer than the material on the ABS, because if you use wood, I have used it in one car before because the owner didn't want to change these out, so actually able to get this loose and put back, and it would still work perfectly without damaging this. And also, if you're going to be careful so you don't hit these ABS rings, because if one of these rings actually goes bad, it can also mess up with your ABS, so kind of be a bit careful about it. So I'm gonna go ahead to jack that one out, and then we're gonna remove the rest of the harness there. And I'll show you where the hatch is, where you can pick it up and then replace it. So to get to the cables here, you have to remove the trim around the trunk. So you have these, which you just literally pop up from the sides, and then this one you just lift up and remove, and there's 2 bolts there. And you have another one over there. You pop that, and then on the other side you get the inner half of the trim, inside trim off. You just remove it, and you got free access. So also, if you ever want to remove the shocks, there is the shock from above, so you can remove each one. So we're gonna go and remove the cable. So under here, on the carpet, you have this access. This is also the access for the fuel pump, so you guys know. And you just remove these bolts each. And there is a kind of what would you call it? A bondage under here, a bond. Not bondage, but bond under the cap here. But you don't have to be really careful about putting in a new one. You can do it if you want. Just put some latex silicone or something, something like that. Maybe I don't know. But I've just put it back on, and it actually stays quite dry. I haven't had any problems, even though I often drive through muck, a lot of snow. Very wet winters and stuff. So I live in a very Nordic climate, so a lot of water. Seldom very dry here, very seldom. Though it's kind of windy here, so I suppose there's that. But if you drive mucky roads, you don't have to worry. It will be just fine for you, really. So I will remove this, and we can continue. So now you just need to take the flat screwdriver, try to pop it around a bit, go in and twist it. The metal can get a little bit bent, so it doesn't really hurt anything. So once you get it loose like that, so you're pretty much able to go around it. Now you need to get the in here. Maybe you can pop it up. Oh, not yet. Let's see here. Don't be afraid about damage the paint either. It's not really. You ain't really gonna get a lot of moisture in here. If you don't dry water tanks for fishes or something, then maybe. So now it's able to pop up it, and there we go. So here's your fuel pump also, if you ever need to change it. Very easy access actually. That's a nice thing. So you have to cut this open now, and here are the two cables. And so to try to get the cables loose, really, I forgot about it. There's a tab just in front of you guys. Let's see here. You can see it right here. This is a God, work with me please. But you can see there's a tab right. We don't want you guys. So there's a tab right here which you can loosen up, and these guys are often in the corner furthest away around here. And now when you loose this up, you can pull it. Often it's above here, and you pull them out on the other side. Now there's completely loose. It will be easy to pick out the next cable. So this one, it's just pushed inside this one, and you literally just flinch it up like that, and it gets removed. So now I got them loose down there. Just about fitted, so it should work now. But I end up having to cut the old one loose, because there's no way you're gonna get it through here, even though it's the fuel lines goes there and the old ABS cables went through there. But if you're gonna have to do that, you will have to drop the whole fuel tank about a bit, not far, but those bolts are rusted. I could do it, but I've chosen not to do it. So what I end up doing instead is to take the new cable, which I've already put together there, but I took it and I ran the cables here, because in here the fuel cap is on this side. So here's the fuel line going up here, and here's about enough space where you can put the ABS sensor down here, and then you can twist them around about yeah, you can see it pretty far back. So you end up with really the same result. But what's important is that you make sure that these are not too tight, because if you feel a strain on them, you may end up damaging the ABS cable, which will in cause the problem which we had. There probably was a damage somewhere on the cable. You can't see it, but inside the cable there are two cables, small copper wires, and probably they have been kind of grinding a bit like this or some way, and they've ended up getting seized inside. I have not seen it on the outside, but that's often what happens with cables when you got copper wires in them like that. So otherwise you often can see it on a single wire, but since that's happened, so make sure it's not too tight anywhere, because the car will move later, and then when the ABS cable is kind of tight and it moves like that, it will strain on them, and if you're lucky it will last long, and if you're unlucky you may have to do this next week, and that's what happens. So what I end up doing is I put it back under that tab again, put it back together. Ran the cable here, so it's currently a bit longer than it actually needs to, just because we're more to the right than the left on the original cable. But I ran the left side and I don't see a problem really. And there you have the left side, so there isn't really that much of a strain on it, so it will be fine. Also, the rear end is going to go up a bit, like here, over here somewhere, and the cable will be much looser. But still, when you put everything together, make sure it's kind of a bit loose, not so that you cannot rub it, because if it's that, you may end up having the cable go bad long before it's supposed to. So I just got them back together. As you can see here, it's back. So when you put it back, you see it's about just the same. It's just about to be at the edge of this. You see this, should the sensor pop out. It's just maybe just a bit further out. But the only thing it does is measure the magnetically, the magnetism. So I put it back together. My tip for you is that you would use, I used wood, which I would have above it. Let's see if I can get you guys a better angle here. So I would put this piece of wood about above it, and then I would take a hammer on the outside and hit it, and therefore driving it bad, because I'm putting in new sensors and a new line and everything, new cable. So I want to make sure I don't damage the plastic. And tip is to clean out the hole, because there's a hole just where the sensor would go inside, and clean out that hole as best as you can, then drive this in. It pretty much goes in the same. I reuse the torque screws, even though I would actually recommend to put in a small bolt instead. But since the screw actually wasn't that rusted on the inside, they still have the coat on them, I reckon I would be able to get them out once more, or I would actually have to weld it up. But somehow I don't think it would be a problem. They went in nice. It's kind of very flush now. There's some match. It can be a little bit of a ridge around. That is just because of the rust that's keeping it out, but in time it will just look the same in a few drives. So I wouldn't be too cautious. The most important thing is that you actually see that the ABS is kind of a bit outside. You can almost feel, you can take the finger and you can go along and you feel it stopping right there. So I'm just on the outside and it gets stuck. I'm just putting my finger at the outside and I go against it and I can feel it. And that's a good indication that the sensor is at the required length on the outside. I don't think I will have any problem when I put it back together, but if I do, I will let you guys know, and what I would have done differently. It's as flush as it can get, so I don't think there will be a problem. So right now it's just actually about to put the cable back together on these clips that are all through the rear end, and then I will put back the springs, and I put back the shocks, and I will put back the disc brake, and we will see if I take a test drive tomorrow, or I'm actually gonna remove the right engine mount on this car, because it's actually very bad on it. So if you guys like to watch more videos, I will show you. I won't show when I put this back together, because it's just everything in reverse what I've done. So actually just follow it. If I would have any bump by any means that would be a problem, I would let you guys know. But there's really no more problems you actually have to face now. The new ABS sensor is in there. You just put everything neatly back together and put back the disc, put on the brakes, put on the wheel, and lower the car and everything. So it won't be a problem really. I don't reckon you could have any issues with this, because you probably understand better than I actually do right now. So if you guys like more videos, just let me know. I will show you guys it. I will actually film in the right whatever, so I will have another video. Also, surprise fact, I actually didn't know that these were actually replaceable. This whole bracket here, you see, this whole thing is actually removable. Usually the ones I've moved, they have been so rusted out, so I never actually seen there's a, it's an insects, what do you call it? Not a Torx. An alley? Is it a, no. What the fuck is it called then? Yeah. The hexagon key anyways is supposed to go under here, and you can actually remove the whole hat. I never know you could do that. Maybe it's in some models, but I haven't seen this before actually. It kind of makes sense that you would actually be able to replace this, because this will actually get very rusty, and most likely this will break. But I haven't. I've had one before that this whole section was gone and this section was still there, but the inspection didn't say about anything. So I don't reckon I will have any problems with these either, but nice to know you can actually change them. I've never bought them, I don't know where you get them, but hopefully somewhere you can get them. Alright, peace out guys.